Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the program. I know there's a lot of big news, like the shutdown not being very long, and also the redistricting case in Pennsylvania, but I'm busy looking at the Academy Award nominees, which came out this morning. So, Susan's in California.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Suze.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. And,
I haven't seen a damn one.
okay, I know, and I know you haven't seen any of the movies. I've seen every one but two, and, you know, now they nominate 10. I've seen every one but two, and the two that I haven't seen are finally here in Pittsburgh, and I'm seeing one today, and I'll see the other sometime during the week. So I'll have seen, this is the first time in a long time I've seen all nominated movies.
Good for you. Are there any that you think are not worth seeing so far?
No. I think they're all legit.
Good.
I think they're all good movies. There are some, obviously, that I wouldn't give the award to, but wow. I think they're all good movies. I'm so sick and tired of Hollywood putting out nothing but crap for 11 months. And then every,
right, all we had were superhero movies. And,
action movies, stupid
fantasy,
movies, yeah.
And sci-fi.
Yeah. And now we get, whoo! So, my favorite, just in general, my two favorites are Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which is a name. Oh, God.
Which I really want to see, yes.
And The Shape of Water. Those are my two favorites. But, man, the post about the Pentagon Papers is wonderful. Get Out, which is one of the few that came out earlier in the year, is, I think, just brilliant. There's two about Dunkirk, essentially. One called Dunkirk and the other called Darkest Hour. That's the one that gets all the buzz because of Gary Oldman's playing of Winston Churchill, which is just pretty dang good. And so, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. And it's all the people you would assume getting. There's no surprises here. The one movie that I didn't see that's got that has somebody nominated is The Florida Project, which I've heard people rave about, but it looks so depressing. I didn't want to see it. Anyway.
What's that supposed to be about?
That's about a little girl who lives with her mom, I think in Orlando. And they're right on the edge of, like, probably homelessness. And I don't know much, but all I know is just raves about the acting in it and how damn true it is. And the person who's getting the nod for it is not the little girl, who I've heard is amazing, but I think best supporting actor for Willem Dafoe. So,
well, okay.
Anyway, yeah, that's one I still do have to see. Other than that, I've seen them all. So,
well, good for you.
Usually I don't enjoy movies much anymore because I just don't think they're very good, but I think this year, wow, I for some reason really did enjoy them. So just telling you guys that if you haven't seen these movies, make a point of it. They're wonderful. All right, so now back to the horrors of the world. Well, as I said, I think that didn't last long, the shutdown, and most of it occurred over a weekend when nobody really was impacted much. And the hue and cry from some Democrats about what a cave, what an embarrassment, what a blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that will hold up. I'm going to hold out hope that Schumer knows what he's doing. I don't know if it's true.
Well,
or
I mean,
not.
I was at least the Post is saying that the Washington Post is saying that the shutdown doesn't read well with the Democrat folks. That using Tea Party tactics in fact just angers people. And that people in the 18 elections were being subjected to Republican robocalls telling their constituents that they valued immigrants over their own country and their own constituents.
That's right. Well, look,
and it just they just couldn't afford to do it, and I don't think they're wrong that the only way to fight these people is to adopt the tactics that they abhor. It's sort of satisfying, that we abhor it. It's sort of satisfying, but it truly might not be the right way to do things.
It might not. No, shutting down is never good.
No.
And I also think, though, the Democrats didn't, as usual, message the whole thing correctly. Republicans are just amazing at how, there is no doubt they control the entire government. They immediately blame the Democrats for their failure to get any legislation through. But then the Democrats.
But that was Russians again. Immediately picking that up and bombarding people with this.
Schumer shutdown. Well, they say that the bots, the Russian bots, went berserk immediately and started. It was all over the place. Schumer shutdown. They're still propping up Trump. It's really something. Okay, so I'm a little confused by the coverage in that they all say, well, here's what Schumer got. We got a 6-year continuation of funding for the CHIP program. That's big. That's great. I don't see that much in the coverage. They just say all he got was a promise from McConnell to take up DACA. And I'm thinking, but wait, he did get CHIP, didn't he? For
6 years of CHIP is no small thing.
However, I did hear, I think he's the head of the Black Caucus, saying that it might not be as great as it sounds, the 6 years of CHIP, since the Republicans are refusing to fund hospitals, and I didn't quite get it, hospitals that in fact provide most of the care for these kids. I didn't know what he was talking about. This is when you're hearing things and thinking, what? So he was suggesting that it's one thing, sort of like abortion. Now, yes, you have the right to abortion. Go try to find a place to have one, right? So it's one thing to say, okay, you got coverage. Now, go try to use it. There was a suggestion that the Republicans are still undercutting.
The argument is that they are so underfunding the reimbursement rate to both hospitals and doctors that they can't find hospitals and doctors
that will
who
accept
can afford to take them. Yeah.
Okay, that may in fact be it. So, we'll see. The reality is they'll shut it down. We'll shut it down again in 3 weeks. But anybody who says they trust Mitch McConnell is out of their minds. He's the least trustworthy person I don't know about that. He's just
Well, and you have just standing right in front of you. I mean, didn't he promise Collins?
yeah, he
that,
did.
You know, and
that's a member of his own
what
party.
Happened?
Yeah, nothing.
Susan Collins,
he screwed her.
He lied to her.
Right, to get her vote. So, I don't know.
Yep.
But you know what? I am, there's so many Democrats that are just freaking out, outraged, going nuts. I think we're all at such a high state of generalized outrage that we got to be careful that we don't just sort of overreact to absolutely everything. I can't personally. I mean, it's taken a toll on me. So I'm just sort of not reacting to this much. I'm just going to see what happens. It's a
you can't because it's every day. You can't.
No, that's true. But I saw, one guy
Saturday
said.
Night Live. Go ahead.
No, how did Saturday Night Live come in here?
Saturday Night Live did a sketch, a game show called "Does It Matter?" And they just went, the three contestants had to say whether something that Trump or Congress or somebody had done that day actually mattered. Like Trump calls, African nations and Haiti poop holes is what they said, and they buzz in and goes, well, that's really bad. That certainly counts. No, that doesn't count.
Well,
it's every day, and
but they do count because in the aggregate, it sure as hell counts. The New York Times the other day, I guess they've done this before. They say this is the third time they've done it. They say it's an updated guide to what Republicans now consider acceptable behavior from the president. So they just list things that Trump has done in the last 3 months. And I guess you could use that for fodder for the game show you're talking about.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, but
right.
But in the aggregate, my God, I mean, let me just run down a few. This is your president in the last 3 months. He implied without evidence that a television anchor was involved in a murder. I believe that had to do with something he said about Joe Scarborough. He questioned the authority of a recording of himself bragging about sexual assault, even though he had previously admitted it was real. The pussy grabbing thing.
And there was video evidence of the, whole thing.
Yeah, and Republicans just say, yeah, that's okay. He has repeatedly said the FBI's reputation is in tatters, is the worst in history, called members of our intelligence community political hacks. That obviously undermines a rather important institution of law enforcement and intelligence in the nation, and that's the president doing that. Republicans, not a word. He has retweeted inflammatory and fake anti-Muslim videos. He has called the American justice system a laughingstock and a joke. There's another attempt to undermine an entire co-equal branch of the government. He has had his lawyer pay $130,000 in hush money to a porn star that he had an affair with. You can't. I'm not even 1/15 of the way into this list. Any of those. Just imagine any of those in a Hillary Clinton administration or Barack Obama administration, and imagine the sustained uproar from Republicans and their propaganda media, Fox News and talk radio.
But it should matter. It should matter, but apparently it doesn't. because the list goes on and on and on. And as you say, and imagine any one of those would have been sufficient to knock every single one of the last presidents out of office. And we're, for some reason, held prisoner.
Well, for some reason, because an entire political party and its base see nothing wrong with a president who now they have actually calculated, neutral sources have calculated he lies at a rate of roughly five lies a day. That would be public lies a day. One can only imagine what the real count is. And, of course, he's about to embarrass the hell out of us as he heads off to Davos. God help us. He has, in the last 3 months, spent 1/3 of his first year in office at one of his golf courses. 1/3. He has said he has signed more legislation than any president in his first year. You know what the fact is? He has signed fewer bills than any president since World War II in their first year. I mean, he just takes fact, turns it totally upside down. If you want to know fact, just assume that whatever it is he said, assume the opposite, and you're going to be closer to truth. I haven't even, I have not dented this list. And the impact on all of us, of our media, which doesn't do that great a job, although there's great journalists trying to, of our media and even the public just reeling, from this. Hence the Saturday Night Live game show bit. Hence my refusal to get overwrought about the shutdown. You just can't do it. My mic, Lynn, your mic does not have the regular rich frequency response that it normally does. Not sure why. It just sounds a bit tinnier. I'm just saying. I don't know. And that's coming from somebody who's in Abu Dhabi or something. Bree, I don't know where you are at the moment, but that's who it's coming from.
Oh, you're reading email. I was trying to figure out what you were doing.
Oh, yeah. And Bree also writes, imagine the conversation and deal making that would get Stormy Daniels $130,000. I mean, how would that negotiation go? How do you get to that figure? I don't know. I guess.
Who knows? They throw something out and she asks for a little more and they go up in $10,000 increments and then she figures she shouldn't push it. The interesting thing is that she'd already granted so many interviews that I don't know what else they were buying. Just not.
Right.
I mean, not that because it was out there.
Yeah. I got to tell you, the article I read that it was a blow by blow, no pun intended, description of almost minute by minute of her what happened the first night with Trump. And it's just so I know. Yes, thank you. That's exactly. I mean, it is just so.
If ever there was an occasion for the word EEEEWWWWW.
Yeah, oof. I mean, really, it just trying to visualize it. I mean, you can't help. You don't want to, but you try to visualize it, and it's like, I mean, it could put you off sex for a good decade or so, I would think. Yeah, a man laughs.
Or anyway, the normal person. Yeah.
Yeah, right. A woman. Here's what else I want to know. I thought of this yesterday. So that weird doctor's report on his health. Who was it? Bill Maher said that he must be he's a city cockroach. He said, Trump's like a city cockroach. You can't kill him. It could be he'll live forever. That the reason he's in... The reason he's in such incredible health is, I mean, look, who can eat 5,000 Big Macs or cheeseburgers a day, fries, all this crap, is constantly shove it in your mouth. And he, you can't kill him.
And carry all that weight around your belly.
Yeah.
Which, is
right.
indicative of all
of it.
things.
All of it. Doesn't exercise. What do you mean? Steve's telling me he doesn't get fries. Yeah, but I've seen him eating fries. There was a picture of him I've seen him eating fries. Jeez. But anyway, no, a city cockroach. I think that's what he's like, a New York cockroach. He's going to live forever. He'll inherit the earth. That's just it. It's hard to come to terms with it, but that's what you got. Anyway, why was I bringing up Go ahead.
I don't
know.
I was going to...
Wait, Susan. I remember. Let's get it before I forget again. The doctor said he was taking, a statin for his cholesterol, which is still sky high, so it's obviously not working very well. I wonder why that is. 20 cheeseburgers a day might do it. But the other thing is, he said, and that's pretty much what he takes something for his hair loss. And I think those were the two drugs that he takes, which is not much for a man his age. I'm younger than he, and I take a whole lot more drugs than that to maintain my good health. But here's what he has to take, especially if he's screwing porn stars. He has to take Cialis or something like that. Right?
Well, I would think.
Oh, yeah.
Or at the very least, antibiotics.
Huh? Or what?
I said at the very least, antibiotics.
Why? Does that make you... What do you mean, an antibiotic?
Well, if he's sleeping around with anything he can catch, he's probably getting bugs.
No, but I'm just thinking about him, having the wherewithal to do
what he
the sexual act, because frankly at 71 it's a little tough for guys.
No, it's not so much the age. I would argue it's his weight.
It's his what? His weight?
Uh-huh.
Whatever.
It's an issue. It's an issue. So let me just ask you a question. It's a change of subject. How much time have you spent talking about the recent women's marches?
I have. Yesterday I think we spent quite a bit of time talking about it, but I know where you're going, and it's really remarkable how little attention it got, and media just discounts women always. Always!
And it's like you sort of accept it. Oh, well, yeah, that wasn't news. That was just thousands and thousands and thousands of women coming together and marching together, in common outrage and with common goals. And
showing
that if it were anything other than women in those numbers, it would have gotten lots and lots and lots of coverage.
Well, yeah. What I said yesterday is, remember the Tea Party? The Tea Party. I remember here, every time a motley group of 20 of them or something would be somewhere with their stupid hats on and their stupid earrings and their signs. Media was all over it. Television news was all over it. Their message was getting out constantly. I don't get what it is about
amplifying their message.
Yes.
Making it seem more important.
Right.
And
right.
And this is where I think women, where our culture keeps us from loudly demanding that we be covered and get the same, treatment as other people. We can't help it. We are culturally complicit.
Have you looked at where the higher?
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Have you look at the at who is at the top of the newspapers of this country, of the networks of this country, of almost every local it's pretty much all white men. So they see a bunch of girls wearing pink hats, taking a day off to like walk in the streets. No. And they refuse to allow them the power that clearly by their numbers they have. And by being able to sustain for a year now, a level of passion that those marches this weekend were saying, hey,
they aren't
hey,
sustaining, they're growing.
Right. Remember a year ago? Remember you did cover those because they blew you away. Remember? Here we are. We haven't forgotten. We're every bit as riled up. In fact, more so. More so.
No, the most women ever are running for office.
Well, thank God.
And yeah, but I do think that partly we have to start reminding men where in every corner of our lives this get behind me thing goes on. And it's everywhere, and women don't even recognize it until it's pointed out to us. And then, but
we're so used to being ignored. Yeah.
We're so used to being ignored that we think it's our proper place, and we have to remember to stay in people's face. There's been a T-shirt that's been hawked on my Facebook feed that irritates me, and it's a picture of a rose. It's a symbol of women's movement. A rose that is shaped like a fist.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a sign. It's a powerful rose. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
Okay, and for some reason, it just irritates me. I don't want to be a rose. I just want to be the fist.
Okay. Okay.
I don't want that. That is precisely the. Don't be afraid of me. I'm really just a rose. I'm a strong rose, but I'm just a rose. No.
Get rid of the rose. Yeah, get rid of the rose and keep the fist.
Get rid of the rose.
Yeah. I'm with you. Hey, we got a caller, Suze. Just a sec. Oh, he's... Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Hey, I don't know if you noticed in the last few months of being around people that voted for Trump. I've run into this a few times. My neighbor said he run the same thing. They're not as enthused about him anymore, and they kind of think he's a jerk like everybody else thinks. I've run into people who voted for him and said, oh, that guy. And so maybe it's starting to sink, the ship, you know what I mean?
Well, the numbers show that.
They were like big supporters of him. I mean, they were bragging him up, thought he was the God himself. You know? I mean, it's changing. It really is.
Slowly. And I did see the numbers where the polling shows that there is erosion even in his base among white women, among white men, among Republicans, or even there's even a slight dip, like 1% in evangelicals. So, yeah, it ain't moving up. He is not attracting any more support. And he's slowly losing some of the folks who put him there. Well, I'm still mad at all of them.
Election.
Well, me too, but the rest of us just have to figure out how to stand united behind electable people.
Exactly right. And the Democrats look like they want to have a civil war of their own, which is not helpful. We just need to get the Congress back. Caller, thank you, and it's good news.
Okay,
thank you.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for the good news.
Yeah. So somebody in the Business Insider tried to eat what was said to be Trump's normal order from McDonald's. Did you hear what his normal order was?
No.
Okay, hang in there, Suze. Here it comes. 2 Big Macs, 2 Filet-O-Fishes, and a large chocolate shake.
Oh my God.
Okay, hang on. That's what he.
That's 3 days worth of calories, right?
No,
there.
they picked it. It's how many calories? They did the calorie count. I forget. It's just 2,430.
You're kidding.
No. So the guy tried to eat it. Now I got to tell you, I could. You know, I have a massive. I could eat that. That doesn't seem. I wouldn't, but I could. Anyway, he says, in about 12 minutes, I'm halfway through. I could really use some water, but I'm sticking with the shake on principle because he's trying to do what Donald does. Since the shake is the only beverage allowed, I'm using it to wash down the last few bites of the first Filet-O-Fish. The flavor combination is disturbing at best. I'm beginning to feel the weight of the food in my stomach, and I haven't even begun the second Big Mac. On the second one, he starts coming apart. 3 pieces of bread is what you got here. That's a lot of bread. Does bread expand in your stomach? I swear I heard it did once. So this reporter's starting to panic. My left thumb begins to twitch. But this could be unrelated to my current diet. Anyway, it took 25 minutes to eat the first 3 sandwiches, but I've clocked nearly 45 trying to down the last one alone. It's not nausea that's plaguing me, but a deep-seated feeling of inertia. I have no momentum. I'm adrift with schools of little fried squares of what the heck? He's lost his mind. All right, so he's lost his mind. So the guy lost his mind. I could do that. We should.
Well, I'm just saying that when Mother and I and the dog got back to our place in California yesterday,
yeah,
we decided that the perfect dinner was In-N-Out Burger. But she just got a cheeseburger, I just got a cheeseburger, and the dog just got a meat patty, no salt.
I ate so much at that wedding, I couldn't eat anything after it. I'd even be willing to try to eat this on the air. I would.
No, you're just wanting someone to dare you so you get to do it. Absolutely.
Oh
not.
no, I don't want to do it. I don't particularly like Big Macs or.
Offering.
But I just want to show I could do it. Hey, you think I couldn't?
I'll vouch for you.
Yeah.
I know you could.
Yeah, I could. I could do it. And I could do it faster than this wimp reporter. But.
Oh, yeah. Well, the trick is not to think. You just slam it in
you
there.
just, get it down. I could do it in 20 minutes, easy. Not saying I'd feel very well after, but, yeah. No, I'm going to read the last line. The last line is, hi, Ernie. Such an order is monumental. Such an order is bombastic folly. Such an order is, well, Trumpian. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. So the other good news is the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said what we all knew. They said, hey.
So.
What?
I just want to know what the practical effects of that decision are.
Well,
don't you have?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't there a special election?
Yeah, it will not affect
district that will be withdrawn again.
Right. So the special election on March 13th will take place as currently constituted, but whoever wins is going to find himself in a different district ultimately, and will have to run in that. I mean, it'll be reconfigured. Whatever the 12th district will prove to be, I'll tell you what it'll prove to be. That district will be redrawn, and it'll be more Democratic. There's no doubt about that. So that's going to... And the polling in this heavily Republican district right now is really shows a tight race. So
Well, he's getting a lot of national attention. I mean, I can be sitting in California and listening to the radio, and I'm hearing about that race.
Okay. So, I mean, a few things about it. First of all, explain to me, why do judges and lawyers talk in such a strange manner? So they say, here's what the state Supreme Court said. They said the map is currently drawn is clearly, plainly, and palpably violative of the Constitution. Okay, what's a synonym for clearly? Plainly. What's a synonym for plainly? Palpably.
Obviously,
Well,
palpably,
I
right.
mean, but why do you?
Well, because it's frowned on to underline clearly 3 times. It was always one of my pet peeves with legal writing. That
It's so
if
stupid.
the desire was to make law, that one needed to speak clearly, plainly, palpably, obvious.
I mean, they could have gone on. I can think of a few others. You could have just kept up with the. I mean, it just seems so silly. After I read it once, and then I saw it in another story. I saw it again, and I thought, clearly would have done it. Plainly would have done it. Whatever. You're right. It's a way to sort of underscore.
It's legal. It's a legal underscore. That's what it is.
So here's what I find a little troubling about it. And I know one of the justices, while siding with the fact that it was unconstitutional, stepped away from the remedy a bit. That was our Justice Max Baer, because he said, geez, you're telling these guys to redraw. Listen to what this court told them to do. You got to redraw this map by February 9th. That's like, what? What is that? 3 weeks?
Yeah, and then all of the offices have to fall into order. I mean, it sends a shudder throughout the state.
I mean, it just seems like I'm telling them to do this really quickly. What happens is, so the legislature, which is all Republicans, are going to have to make a map that they don't want to make. They will still try to give themselves.
They should have ordered them just to revert
to whatever it was.
If this one isn't right, then you go back to what it was,
well,
and then you can renegotiate.
So what they told...
I mean, that's the...
Right. What they told them is, if you don't come up with it in time, then we'll draw it for you. So that's what's happening. Pennsylvania has... It's been... I mean, everybody who follows gerrymandering has said that Pennsylvania is, without a doubt, one of the most egregiously gerrymandered states. Susan, there's a district in suburban Pennsylvania that you couldn't imagine what this thing looks like. It looks like at one point they just sort of looped around to get maybe one house in it, and then walked off into it is just this, it's an absurd, there's no way, that alone, if you were arguing gerrymander, you could say, excuse me, just, your honors, would you please just look at the 7th Congressional District? It's disgusting. And that district, by the way, was gerrymandered into this absurd shape to protect a Republican congressman who, by the way, was in the news recently. A wonderful guy, Meehan is his name, and it turns out he used our money, taxpayer dollars, to pay off a woman in his employ to shut her up about his sexual harassment. Ugh. So, there you are. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, this attitude of cost of doing business for harassing employees. Oh, well, I'll just, it's like
incredible.
A speeding
Yeah,
ticket.
I know. So, Susan, as currently constituted, Pennsylvania has 18 congressional districts. And now, and ever since they drew this map, of those 18, 13 have been held by Republicans. But if you look at the statewide vote, in vote after vote after vote, this state actually has more Democratic voters, and yet they end up with only, what, 7 seats. How many seats do the Democrats have?
They're silenced. They're silenced.
Wait, if the Republicans have 13 of the 18, we just have 6. Oh, no, 13 from 18. All right, 5! Is it just 5? That can't be right. That they have more than 3 times. These bastards. I mean, what a bunch. That means we go and vote, and, if you're a Democrat, doesn't count. If you're a Republican, man, oh, man, you're... They've done this in so many states, it's beyond belief. They're despicable. It's a despicable party. There are only 5.
Is this an automatic appeal to the Supreme Court?
Well, the Republicans say that they will, yes, look for a stay from the Supreme Court, which I suppose they might get, given that court. But, yeah, think of it, Susan. We have 18 districts in a state that voted, it's unbelievable. And Democrats get 5 of the 18 districts because of how they drew the lines. When every statewide election shows that this is a state that is pretty much 50-50. So we should be getting 9 at least. And I see people who follow it saying, if they redraw these things properly, it should be a pickup of 4 or 5 Democratic congressional seats. Right, just from the state of Pennsylvania.
Cool.
Well, I'll believe it when
if Wisconsin gets thrown in there, then Wisconsin can start coming
and
back.
Others, North Carolina, and I mean they have thrown out more. It is beyond belief the number of congressional gerrymanders that have now been declared unconstitutional, either by state courts, federal courts, or and we'll wait and see what the hell's going on down there. Supreme Court. Milton writes, Lynn and Susan, you two are absolutely correct concerning the television coverage of the Women's March. I couldn't believe how little time was devoted to the millions who gathered and protested this weekend. The minimal coverage was bad enough, but the most disturbing thing I noticed was that CNN began its State of the Union show at 7 a.m. Sunday morning with brief coverage of the cities and marches by interviewing some of the participants. Unbelievably, in succession, they interviewed 3 men. 3 white men. You gotta be kidding. Tell me that's not true. How could a reporter do that? Are you kidding? It's a woman's march. They interviewed 3 white men. No women, no people of color. CNN chose to cover the Women's March by interviewing 3 white men. Ruined Milt's day. Would have ruined mine, too. Jesus H. And you guys think we're making this up?
Yeah. It's really pretty amazing. But as I say, we have to watch ourselves because we are so conditioned to just, that's the way things are, reactions, that we have to remember to I'm going to transfer my Trump outrage to, things that are, more selfish. I'm going to transfer them to these women, the outrage to the women's issues. And I'm going to start to, demand this fair coverage from the media, because I do feel that it's unfair.
I don't know what you do.
Let's take that cause away from Trump. Now, what can I do? Nothing. I can write letters.
I'm going to take solace in the obituary of the day. Okay?
Okay.
Naomi Parker Fraley, age 96. You know that great poster, "We Can Do It"? She was Rosie the Riveter.
Yeah.
Even though another woman,
Right.
another woman was given credit for being Rosie the Riveter up until relatively recently. But she's the real deal, and they finally figured it out. And it turns out, fuck you. Stephen just typed up on his little whiteboard and said to me, "Oh, sounds like a riveting story."
Uh-oh.
So, okay, so Naomi Parker, you just sit there and do your job, okay? I didn't know this. You know who drew the poster? You know whose poster it was? A Pittsburgher. A Pittsburgh.
No, well then I do.
A Pittsburgh artist. No, like Norman Rockwell did one for the Saturday Evening Post,
Right.
depicting a muscular woman in overalls, and put the name Rosie on her lunchbox, and a rivet gun on her lap, and Mein Kampf under her foot. Jesus. But that's not the one. The one we're talking about is the one that is sort of this iconic. I just did
The woman making a muscle.
Yes.
The woman making the muscle.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was Naomi.
Which is exactly what I was talking about. That's just a picture of
Right.
an unabashedly powerful woman, and that's who we should strive to be.
Right. Well, we should adopt that. We can do it. It says at the top. So anyway, you know who? This is what's so funny. That painting, that poster, was commissioned because it was this Pittsburgh guy did it. It was commissioned by a Pittsburgh business, namely Westinghouse.
Mm-hmm.
And the year was 1943. Westinghouse asked for a poster, showing women doing the job. And apparently it was never meant for public display. It was, listen to this, it was intended only to be put in Westinghouse plants and was intended to deter absenteeism and strikes. That's what it was. And it was essentially forgotten until the 1980s when somehow some copy came to light and the feminist movement grabbed it. So that's who brought that back and up. It became a feminist symbol.
It was a way to keep them down, and now was used to rise them up. Yeah.
Right. And anyway, so Naomi Parker Fraley did work as a riveter, and she also after the war she was a waitress at a restaurant in Palm Springs. She married and had a family, and there you go. But the guy who drew it is a guy named Miller. Why can't I find his name? Some guy here, Howard Miller, Pittsburgh guy. So that's the real story. There you go. I worked for 3 months on a jigsaw puzzle on my dining room table of that poster. So believe me, I know it well. And it was so damn hard that I many times thought, that's it, I give up. I just give up. I can't. There were like tiny little pieces, and there was a lot of just black, tiny little pieces. And I thought, I can't, I just can't. I'm losing my mind. I obviously have things in the wrong. And I leave it for as much as a week or two, and it mocked me by being on the dining room table because it said at the top, which I had managed to do,
you can do it.
Yes. It said, we can do it. And I'd look at it, I'd think, but I can't. I can't do it. And I thought, you have to do it. It says right there. And so strangely, the we can do it thing wouldn't let me quit. And man, when I did finish it, I felt so genuinely good about myself. I thought, well, I never knew I could be so persistent. I don't find myself...
Good for you.
I know. I don't think of myself as a persistent person, but the poster itself...
I would call my daughter-in-law.
Yeah. Well, there are people who, yes, they just... Right. And I'm not like that. I think if I encounter a blockade or something, I think, oh, well, I guess I really didn't want to do it that much anyway, and I, disappear. I never realized I could. I thought it was a wonderful moment for me, and I took great pleasure and still do.
Well, good. I'm proud of you.
Thank you very much,
not even
Susan.
being facetious.
Thank you very much. So there was slightly, maybe facetious. But, so Suze, there was this book review that I read about, the title of the book is Off the Charts. And what's funny is that is a phrase that is used so much by our brother. Even this last weekend, I remember him saying, that kid is amazing. Just off the charts. Off the charts, he's often saying. Meaning a genius, right? Off the charts means high IQ. Off the charts, off the charts. And this is, in fact, a book about American child prodigies and what their lives are like and where they end up and all of that. And the review wasn't very good. I thought, oh, this looks interesting. And I didn't get a lot from it. But here is something that might not surprise you. It says here that most prodigies grow up to be thoroughly unremarkable on paper. They do not sustain their genius into adulthood. Well, what do you make of that? You either have it. I mean, how does it... I don't get that.
Perhaps it's because it's a one skill that shows up extremely early. But by the time you're 30, it's not so remarkable, and there's nothing else that's been developed.
That might be it. Here's what it says here. Let's see. The very traits that make prodigies so successful in one arena, their obsessiveness, their stubborn refusal to conform, their blistering drive to win, can make them pariahs in the rest of life. And a lot of these kids are kids with not a lot of friends. They are kicked out of schools left and right because teachers find them annoying. I'm not surprised to hear that because teachers don't like any kid who doesn't sort of fit the mold, right? That can be somebody who's considered to be, well, it's a problem, right? And they say, this is a woman who teaches gifted students. She says, genius, you have to recognize, is an abnormality. And abnormalities do not come one at a time, so that if a kid is abnormally brilliant or talented in some aspect, the odds are they have other abnormalities. And many of these, many gifted children have ADD or OCD or Asperger's.
Yep.
And then the other thing in this thing that blew me away was, and I'd never thought of her like this, is they said that very few, of these kids sort of manage a smooth transition into adulthood.
Shirley Temple Black did.
There, you said it. That's the one. I was going to say they
Really?
Yep. They say the child actor Shirley Temple pulled it off pretty much. And she did it by pulling away when she was still young from the part of her that had exhibited this genius. She was what, 5 years old?
I think she was like 3 when she started.
No, are you kidding? And she memorized lines. She was a not bad little actress. She was an extraordinary dancer. She was calm and collected.
Not bad little actress. Some of those Shirley Temple movies could have you sobbing by the
right,
end
because
of
she was
them.
like,
when she was finally reunited with whoever she was separated from.
Right. But think of what an extraordinary career she had. Because she tried the transition into being a sort of teenage actress, and obviously it just wasn't. She was in a film with Cary Grant, wasn't she, as an older...
I think so.
Yeah. Where she sort of falls in love with him, but he's in love with her mother or something. It's some kind of a weird thing. And she eventually just said, screw it, and got out and lived a normal life. But, happily married, politically involved, wrong party, but politically involved, and was the ambassador to someplace. Ghana?
I can't remember where.
Okay, she was the ambassador to Ghana and Czechoslovakia.
Right.
And
was a serious and
serious
intelligent woman.
Right.
Yeah.
But so apparently
she was. It wasn't a starstruck thing. She really had worked hard at being somewhat of a career diplomat.
Right. She went at that the way she went at her as a child after her film work. She did the job, was serious about the job. If you've never seen a Shirley Temple movie, I'm looking at the young guy over here. Have you ever seen one? It's worth seeing.
Oh, God, there's so many great ones.
She's mind-blowing. She's this big and holds her own with adult actors and knows her lines and can dance up and down steps and can do and sing and unfriggin' believable.
Everybody has to have heard On the Good Ship Lollipop.
On the good ship Lollipop. It's a trip to the candy shop where the children play Peppermint Bay.
Yeah, not my favorite movie. If I were going to recommend one, it was during the war, and I think she's in England, and her father it's World War I, and her father she's separated from, she's put in a terrible school, and you know.
So Susan, I didn't
She
know you were
finds
a
him
Shirley
in-
Temple fan.
Oh no! Well, when I was a kid, you know, after school, you'd watch these movies, and this one came up frequently. But at the end, she's walking up and down the corridors of the hospital, and she finds her father. So if you can make it through that one without crying, good luck to you.
So if you need a good cry, and I think a lot of us do, you just get yourself to a Shirley Temple movie and let it out. That's good for your health. It really is. All right. So that's it, I think. Yeah. So
It is. My body's still trying to figure out how to be in 3 different time zones and function in each one in 3 days.
Well, I know it's tough, that travel, and that Mom did it is amazing. It really is. She did pretty good.
She did pretty good. We were exhausted yesterday, but we
Yeah.
did well. So
I mean, I'll tell you, just a night and a half ago, she was what? She was all over the dance floor to Free Fallin'.
right.
At first, when she heard it, she said, "I'm free falling," and then she said, "Oh, we don't want to fall," you know, because when you're old, falling is the last thing you want to do. But then she started listening to the words, and she really could tell she was really liking it. And after it was over, she said, "I never heard that. That's wonderful." Yeah, well, he's dead. Anyway, all right.
Okay.
All right. Well, Suze, thanks. I know.
Why is he laughing now?
He's laughing because I said he's dead, and that just shows how weird these millennials are. I'm telling you. What?
One last thing. I give to you the power to pick my headshot, my new headshot.
Oh, there's so many of them. Okay, I will.
Well, my personal favorite is the one where I'm making sort of the same face that you make.
Well, okay. You took a lot of beautiful.
No.
We got Susan's son to take pictures of it, so we don't have that old picture. I just don't know how to get it from my phone onto.
No, you have to ask him, and then he will send it to you.
Oh, he'll send me a picture, a hard.
Well, or he'll send you a way to download it. Yeah, they're all protected. That's no one has to listen to this.
No, nobody has to listen. Excuse us. We're sorry. This has now become just a Miller sister private call. Okay, we got to stop. I got to get out of here.
Okay, bye.
Okay, goodbye. Thanks, Suze. Bye. See you guys tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.